Hi, I'm Audrey. I'm with Adoption Journeys, and we are the post-adoption service for the state. So as it is a free service available to you from the moment that you finalize until the rest of time. And the little history of our program is that we were formed in 1997 when a group of families advocated with the state saying that we have these wonderful services leading up to the time of adoption. And then finalization happens, and it's wonderful, and then there's not another service out there that really is specific to post-adoption and with folks who really get it. And hence Adoption Journeys was born. So we have a grant from DCF, but we're a private agency. We have 5 offices to cover the state. I'm guessing most of you here would be interacting with the Waltham office, which is like Boston and Metro, but then there's also an office in Lawrence, covers North and Metro, Worcester, and then we have offices in the West and down in the Southeast Fall River. And so we are, again, a free program, so there's never a cost to families to participate, and it allows us really to be very flexible. We're not billing insurance, and so we can really work with families about what is it that you need, how can we help you get it. And we have a range of ways to do that. We're available for any type of adoption and permanent guardianship. That's my main background pieces of it. So really, it's the program that is available statewide, provided, guaranteed to you by the state, and with folks who really specialize in the adoption stuff. So, those themes that include the fact that it is a unique family constellation and dealing with themes of grief and loss, attachment, trauma, and claiming, all sorts of things. As long as it's adoption related in any way, we're in. And if we're not the ones available to provide the specific service that you want, we're going to help connect you with whoever it is. So what our services look like, we have a range that we can provide. And one, what we call regional response team, that's our clinical in-home support. And that can be, it's designed to be a brief but comprehensive support to families to help you get back to your level of stasis. And so that can look like home visits with just parents. It can be home visits with the entire family, doing some bits of individual work with kids. And that parent support piece can include just being another person at the table with you, brainstorming, trying to understand what you're seeing and what's going to be the most helpful way to respond to different behaviors that aren't responding to the traditional methods that the rest of society is telling you should be doing. And just understanding that impact of early trauma and loss and how that's presenting in your kids and how to support them through it. And that parent support also, we're happy to be able to just be an outlet for parents. So if you just need to vent or say, this is so hard right now, that's fine. We can just have a time to sit and talk about that and say, yes, this is really hard, and to help figure out how for it to be less hard for you. And family work, some of the themes that can come up, which also just with parents, is kind of open in communication around the child's story and what they understand of it and what it's meaning for them at this point. Can also be helping to write a life book with the family and helping to prepare parents to prepare kids to talk about their story and interacting with birth family, any of those sorts of things. And we're also able to do more of that regional response work can include advocating with other systems that you're interacting with, including coming to school meetings, court hearings, and helping to find adoption competent people, such as here at the table, and also to work with providers who are in place that just aren't understanding what's happening and need that adoption lens brought in. And you could say there are other pieces. Again, really that regional response work is very much family driven. Come and say, this is what I need. Right now it's 100% a voluntary service. It can be really designed by the parents for what is it you're looking for at that time. How can we help you get there? And then we also have support groups that are always running, and each region has different ones going at different times. And there are always ongoing parent support groups. And then throughout the year, there are usually one or two, at least like topical specific groups that come up, or seminars. There are also teen groups or youth groups. Those we have a little harder time pulling together, but they do exist. And some will have, again, the time-limited specific ones. And we're able to do a parent liaison program, so making specific connections between parents who are having a similar experience, or maybe one parent who was really successful with one particular school system and is willing to share their experience and what worked. We can connect folks, now someone who's with that same school system, but at the beginning of the process. Or maybe someone who's had a similar experience with birth family or any sort of thing. And for some parents too, it's just a matter of wanting to connect with other adoptive parents who are having any sort, even if they're just in the same geographic area and experience is totally different, still just the power of connecting. And then we have our social activities. Every region has one a month, sometimes more, but usually one. And this is our one time where we ask for a little money sometimes, but that's just for offsetting the costs of events. And they will be a range of what kind of event and what the goal of it is, but including just giving families an opportunity to get out and do something fun together that is not stressful and that is just a time for quality time with the family. And there's always the benefit, but sometimes extra focus on building that network and really connecting people through activities. And sometimes, and a couple times a year, always those activities are full respite focus. So where parents can drop kids off with us for a couple hours, watch your kids, and you can go do something else. I say if it's going to be take a nap, go ahead. And sometimes there are larger events too, some that are statewide, where we'll really bring families from across the state together for events, and which always includes some training portion too for parents and respite during it, and otherwise just a lot of really fun connecting. And the easiest example, in December for the last several years, we've all been going to Great Wolf Lodge for a weekend. So we had, I think we had about 45 families this year. And on Saturday, there was lunch, and then for 2 hours, we had staff watching all of the kids, and all of the parents came in for a trauma-based parenting presentation. And then for the rest of the weekend, there was enjoying Great Wolf Lodge. And then we met again for breakfast on Sunday morning, so again, for that opportunity for folks to connect. So yeah, some activities are like big ticket, others are very small, but all we find very great. And we'll have some families who will just participate in social activities, which is absolutely fine. You can, once becoming a part of Adoption Journeys, you can access any aspect of the programming at any point. Again, it's voluntary. So, and we will often have families who maybe come in and just do social activities for some time, and then maybe a year or two goes by, and ooh, this has been coming up, and we can use some more support around that, and we'll come out and do some home visits or come along to some meetings that you have going on. And then maybe that's settled, but I wanted to do some support groups or something, and you can always come and go. And we have paperwork we need signed annually, but otherwise it's 100%. And up to you how you want to participate. And then we're available too as information and referrals, so both for families and for professionals, just to call, and I'm looking for this type of service in this area, or I need to know how to access special education services, we'll refer to Federation, etc. We're available for that, and we do trainings. It's the last main piece. So, and those, again, we can set up trainings for professionals to include, like maybe a school district is willing for, hey, we have a bunch of teachers who have been working with kind of a similar theme around attachment or loss or something, and they'll bring us in to do a training with the school staff or with a different community provider. And then we'll also do family trainings. And in the last year we had one gentleman, Stephen Bradley, who's been training with Bruce Perry in a new neurosequential model of therapeutics and trauma, brain, etc. Cool stuff. But so he came and did a one-day training for us. In April, we have Heather Forbes is actually going to come in and do a weekend for us. She is an adoptive parent, and also she has a model of therapeutic parenting that she presents about. So we're excited to have her. And yeah, so that's us in a large nutshell. It's always dynamic, and again, and we're always happy to hear from folks. Our one limit is that an adoption has to be finalized, but we're also available as just a phone support before that, and we also are happy to come out, like if you're right about to come up to finalization and you want to have more of a sense of what's available to you when everyone's going to leave you in a month or so, we can come out and to like one of your last home visits with your social worker, and so then again that you have faces to who's going to be around, and just to be have more of a sense of that, and you don't have to use it, but to know that we're there. And the other option, there are green cards back there. You can sign up for our newsletter online, well, which you can also do online, or you can fill out a card and I'll take those back with me. And you're welcome to be on the newsletter, and then you'd still just be getting something in the mail every 3 or 4 months with like, all right, journeys.
What's your name again?
My name's Audrey.
That's really helpful, I will say, as an adoptive parent, because there's obviously a lot of excitement around finalization, and then afterwards when stuff starts creeping up, or you'd like to branch out and meet other adoptive parents, you think back to what you said and then can't remember the name of the organization. So getting on the newsletter and just getting those emails, even if they're not relevant to you for a while, I think is just really helpful. And I just want to put a plug in for Adoption Journey specifically, that as a professional, I've had phone calls, for example. I remember this one phone call where a woman called me. She and her partner are both white women, and they adopted an African-American child, a daughter, and they really wanted a therapist who was an African-American woman in the Northeast region. It's like very specific, because of course life is all about scheduling, and you need to get somewhere within 30 minutes, and they were able to identify somebody because the families that they work with then pass along recommendations and their experiences, and then they build a network that way. So that kind of stuff is real life helpful work. But thank you. I think we'll wait till the end to take questions. Okay, Michelle?
Actually, Audrey and I were trying to get our chairs right, because back up before you finalize your adoption, and that's me. But I made her change chairs. Is that crazy? I said, oh no, they always go this way. So that's late. I should know better to go in. In any case, hi, I'm Michelle Bankus, and I am the statewide director of the KidsNet program, which is part of MSPCC. And like Adoption Journeys, KidsNet is a DCF contract, and it must have been great in 1997 because we were started just around the same time. And the department realized that their foster families, whether they were ongoing foster families, pre-adoptive families, kinship families, that they all needed some sorts of supports that really weren't in place. And some of those supports, with some of the specialized foster care, et cetera, those families were able to get a little more support, and the department really wanted their departmental families to specifically have this. So this is a closed contract to anybody who is a foster parent and is departmental foster care. So you basically can't be a specialized foster care family to receive the services. But we have a list of 5,000 families that we get a download monthly that we service, so everybody is eligible. The day that you are approved, you get your approval as a pre-adoptive family, etc. And we are a statewide program also. I have a KidsNet director in every DCF region. We model after DCF. And we have a Holyoke director, a Worcester director, a Northern director in Lawrence, a Southern director who now is in New Bedford, and a Boston director who's in JP. And all of that information is in your purple folder. And we do sessions as part of the MAP group, and what we tell people is, you're probably not hearing a thing we're saying, but keep this purple folder, because someday you will pull it out. So the types of services that we offer are, we offer respite, and respite it's a special kind of respite, though. It is through basically DCF, they're licensed foster families. So your social worker or your family resource worker in an area office will look for a family to accommodate the period of time that you want respite. We will pay those providers directly, and your payment won't be interrupted. And it's one of the things that the department can't pay two people at the same time. So in the past, before this contract, you are an ongoing foster pre-adoptive parent. They would close you down. They would open up somebody for 10 days. It would then close you and open you up again. So because they could not have a kid's name appear twice on the same state payroll. So it's great. And I think that right now we offer every family 10 days of respite a year. Sometimes families need more, and we encourage families to call us, discuss the situation, what's going on, and we certainly accommodate for special situations. We also provide short-term childcare. Families are eligible for 10 hours a month of childcare. Again, this is licensed childcare, so it's not with a babysitter, it's not with some of the things you might arrange through the DCF area office. KidsNet has a contract with an agency called Child Care Circuit. They subcontract with 16 child care systems across the state. So through this crazy process, we try to match you up when you need the child care. And, you know, child care is difficult, as I'm sure, and if you have kids already know, and sometimes it's not available in an area. For instance, Greenfield, there is not one child care system in Greenfield, so I do have a special babysitting program, again, with kind of some licensed people there. So we try the very best we can to accommodate that, but sometimes, you know, it's availability. But people do use that. I have people who regularly sort of have date night once a month. That's what they want to just get out, you know, have with their partner, just get out, have some, you know, have a drink usually, and they use it regularly, and they say it really, really helps them to look forward to that when they don't have that responsibility. Childcare is available from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 p.m. in the evening. So if you wanted to access childcare, you would just call your regional KidsNet director, and they would take it from there. And you would tell them the day you wanted, the time, etc., and in a geographic area that you were willing to drive to, that type of thing. So that's childcare. We also provide trainings. We provide trainings in each of the areas that DCF covers, area office. We provide 420 trainings a year, which is very interesting to try to arrange. But basically, we work very closely with the family resource staff at DCF, as well as all the parents we have contact with, and ask them, you know, what training would be helpful for you, and then we try to go out and search for that trainer. And it differs in different parts of the state what they want, but the most popular training, of course, is how do I deal with child's difficult behavior? No big surprise. You know, we are beginning, just at the beginning edge of doing webinars, because we realize families have very, very busy lives and can't necessarily get out to a training from 6:30 to 8:30 during the week. We do have trainings, again, based on what families ask us for and what their family resource units ask. We have them daytime, evening, Saturdays. So we can accommodate. We also run a conference, annual conference, biannual conference every other year, and we usually have about 250 families who come. And again, we look back and see what is the most pressing issue or in the past year for families. And we usually have a keynote speaker and then 5 different workshops. And the feedback we have is, oh, I wish I could have gone to more than one workshop. Our last conference was addressing the substance abuse issues. And that, whether you're working, your experience is you're working on visitation with a bio family, and you try to explain to your kid why visits happen or don't happen because of, that is an issue that people want to know. Well, what do I say? How do I really talk about this? Or, whether you are a parent of a child who's struggling, no matter which perspective, it's important to have that information. We also have a program, it's called the Family Resource Liaison Program, and some of them you might know the FRLs, we call them. Or my boss always said, what's an FRL? And it is an experienced foster, usually also adopted parent, who is available at all times. You get their phone number and you can call them at any time. They also help arrange the trainings because they talk to parents every day, all the time, and they say, a lot of people really need help with this or that. And there is one per every DCF area office, so I guess we have, 34 of them. So they are available, and again, we on our website at MSPCC, which I think you have the connection for, all of their names and numbers are available. In terms of training, the entire training, 420 trainings, they're available. And if you just click on Boston or the Northeast, you'll just get the trainings alone in that area. You don't have to scroll down. So that's training.
Michelle, can I interject for 1 second? We actually have an FRL in the room, a real life FRL. He's going to kill me. But this is Chip LaRiviere. Chip, do you just want to say a couple?
I knew you looked familiar. Your big high coming in, I'm like, I know that man. Welcome. As I say, they're wonderful. Chip being one of those wonderful people. They have a lot of experience to share with you, and they're very, very good listeners. And also the benefit of that is they work with their KidsNet directors and describing, what some of the issues are, and the KidsNet director might get directly involved in a particular issue or not, but that all kind of streams up. I also meet quarterly, but talk probably weekly at least with DCF, who's one of my managers. And, I share these issues that families are struggling with and where they're struggling with them. So it is very helpful to have that whole flow of conversation coming in from the FRLs. Some things I totally understand, they're systemic. Some things I never understand what the issues are. Sometimes it is personality. Sometimes you get a brand new worker who really doesn't know that much and doesn't know when they should probably go back and ask the supervisor. We also encourage people, the FRLs do, that it's very appropriate and you won't get your worker in trouble if you call their supervisor. DCF is prepared for that. They know that. Workers are very busy. They have 20 cases, 20 families they work with, so they're all over the place. So, for that. Support groups. There's a support group basically in every DCF region, and some of them are run really in cooperation with usually DCF family resource worker, somebody from that office, and some we just run ourselves if there isn't a group in the area. So those are certainly available to you, and you would find out about those by calling your KidsNet director. Finally, we work with MAF, which is Math Alliance for Families. It actually is the Foster Parent Association, and they feel that they represent in an advocacy way foster, adoptive, guardianship, and kinship families. They have a very broad agenda. We meet at least quarterly. There are various committees that are in place, such as the legislative committee, we have a fundraising committee. And our goal is to really highlight what issues are with foster and pre-adoptive and kinship families, and actually look for legislators to put forward bills that address these. Currently, the issues we're working on, there's a foster parent bill of rights that is before the legislature, and through our kind of context all the way down to the grassroots, we do a call for action, and it's wonderful. As many people who would sign up for that, it's great. It pops you right into your legislators who represent you and suggests, it describes what the bill is about and why you're asking for their support. And it's very helpful, because we all know that if legislators don't hear from people, they're not going to get on board and vote for it. So it's our call to action, which has been very helpful. MSPCC through MAF and through the agency, one of the big things they advocate every year is for the daily rate of support. And you all probably know now it's in the $25 category, give or take 83 cents here or there. When you get one year there was a 38-cent raise. And I'm like, 38 cents. Let's see, I can't even buy a stamp. All right. But it's big money when you multiply everything times 5,000. So I try to be open about that. But we have pretty successfully almost every year, every other year, been able to lobby the legislature. And the interesting thing is DCF can't lobby for themselves. They're a state agency. So we sort of wind up being their lobbyist. And we really, really feel that parents who care for kids who are in the care of the department need all of the support they can have. So that has been a big thing. So the foster parent bill of rights, also we have a bill before for the raise in daily rate, and any other kind of crucial things that come up. I think that's all I have to tell you. Okay, I'm done.
I just want to say, obviously, respite care is really important
Very
because a lot of our kids have needs that, your high schooler down the street is not going to be able to handle as your babysitter. And some of us don't have extended family in the area. So these are folks, have already been trained as foster parents and have experience and aren't going to be put off by maybe challenging behaviors. So really important.
I think, I'll just tell you an inside issue with the department, and it has to do with structure. The department has, and many of you have probably been through them, they have specialized adoption recruitment and people who complete your home studies, etc. They are not linked to an area office, and they have to, when you get your first kid and they're from a certain office, that office doesn't know you. And when people know, so you have to have, your worker has to lobby saying, find a family. I know you don't know them, but they need respite. So always, don't be afraid to ask for it, but understand why your worker struggles a little bit. It really is part of the bureaucratic system. When families are approved kind of at the area office level, from day one they're embraced. And then suddenly you come in and like, well, I don't know you. I don't know who to match you with. I don't know. So don't be put off by that. Just persevere. Keep pushing forward. Okay.
I just want to say one more thing about, Chip, do you want to speak for yourself? Just why you're an FRL, what your personal experience is?
So my role is on the pre-adoptive side for Central Region of Worcester. And I've seen some of you folks at MAP panels. And I go to the panel night at the end of MAP training, talk briefly about my story, adopting through the department, 4 of my kids, and then my role as an FRL. My role simply in the small picture of KidsNet is to basically to help supply the supports that families need. We're liaison for me, for pre-adopted families, and an issue may have at the department, issue may have at school, behavior, I need a therapist, I need respite, I need to access MSPCC services. That's something as simple as I'm confused about a procedure or for our process, can you answer a question, can you have a cup of coffee, all the way to a 51A, or my kid is blowing out at school, I have an emergency. So one of the biggest things that we ask our families is that before it escalates to a higher level, that you reach out to somebody for some help. One of the things that I personally hear from families, we're afraid to ask. We don't want DCF to think we can't do this. We don't want them to take, that's not the case. Totally, DCF completely understands the situation with the kids that they put in your care, as do we. Nobody makes judgment calls because you reach out for help. It's actually, we're here because we know you need help. And having been in that position multiple times, there are a few situations that I haven't seen or heard of. And if I can't help you, I can certainly reach out to people that can. Everything that we talk about is confidential. We don't run back and say to your social worker, oh, you know, this family told me this and they're in crisis, and then unless it's something that puts a kid in danger because we are reporters, or we need to help you negotiate something or figure something out with a worker, whatever families say to me is confidential. Even when we go to our FRL meetings, we talk generally. We don't talk about families' names. We don't say, you know, this family, that family. I have a family that needs this support. I have a family that needs that support. I have a family that has this situation. Everything is confidential unless, you know, we do need to report some kind of abuse or child is in danger. So that's quick, basic.
Thank you. And as a father of 5,
Yes.
he has a wide range of experiences.
And 4 of my children are adopted in the department, so.
Thanks, Chip. Casey?
Hello, I'm Casey Craig. I work as a clinician at Boston Post Adoption Resources, so I think I'm in the right spot at the table. So we're not a placement agency, but we help keep families together. And we like to sort of say we're small but mighty. So we're a really small nonprofit. We're in Brookline, Massachusetts. Yeah, we're close to you. So let's see, our founder, CEO, we have Jennifer Eckert, and then Kelly DiBenedetto is our clinical director, and myself, we're the only 2 full-time employees, so really small. We have 2 part-time employees, a clinical intern, and a research intern right now. So we have a mission to provide not only therapeutic services, but education and resources. And so Jennifer likes to share her story. She is adopted and talks a lot about her sort of story when she started to contact and learn about her birth family, and really finding there wasn't a lot of supports and services out there for her. We have this really neat sort of picture we sometimes show, her family tree, which we call a genogram. It went from like this big to like a huge piece of construction paper once she started to learn about and connect with her birth family. And really, you know, even for the healthiest of individuals, just needing so much support around managing those new relationships. So she was inspired, and we're happy she was, because now BPAR exists. So I think I'll start with a little bit with the therapeutic services we provide. We work with anyone touched by adoption, so sort of complex blended family. We work with families that are pre-adoptive. We work with families that are after adoption, or sort of what we say post-adoption. All types of adoptions, so adoptions through DCF or through the state, open, closed, international, or I think intercountry is also a word that's being used right now. Let's see. We work with not only everyone in the adoption triad, so the people who are adopted, adoptive parents, and birth parents, but sort of we heard this word constellation. We love that. So, siblings, individuals who have a birth parent. We are experiencing a lot of people who are doing some DNA testing and getting a lot of sort of what we're saying surprises, or sort of really unexpected information about birth family they didn't know about. Yep, so all different kinds of adoption, especially transracial adoption. So we are really finding that's not talked about as much as it needs to be. And you see how it's at the end of my list, and it shouldn't be. So the types of therapy we do offer sort of a traditional individual therapy, again with individuals of all ages. We work with a lot of adults who are adopted. a lot of children and families, couples and parent support. We have a model where we like to really do some family work, so we might oftentimes start with individual work if we're working with children and offer concurrent sort of parent support, parent coaching around some of the very, very common presentation around difficult behaviors, how to manage behaviors, emotional behavioral meltdowns. And then we like to sort of bring the family together. So oftentimes with the two therapists, we'll do some co-join and like joint family therapy sessions. We offer sort of separate parent consultation and coaching, a lot of working with adults. We have some groups right now. So we have 4 or 5 groups right now. Usually we have one child group running at any time. Right now we're working with children who are 8 to 11. We're also finding this is like a really common area, a time for kids to express more difficulty in their identity, more interest in their birth family, and for parents wanting more support around how to answer those questions, how to give education. I think it's a time in school when a lot of school projects are coming up. They're doing a lot of family trees. So right now, the group we have is a concurrent child and parent. So I'll run the parent group, and we have 2 of our clinicians running a children's group, which is really like a lot about community building. We don't have a really structured sort of CBT or coping skills group right now. It's like a really positive chance for them to be together and usually do some form of art. And we have 3 different adult groups right now. So we have 1 creative writing group for anyone touched by adoption. And we have 2 adult adoptee groups. So one is really, we've recently split the groups because we found that there's just a lot of different needs. So we're trying out a model with 2 different groups, and individuals can go to one or both. So there's a sort of general adoptee experience, and then there's a more specific search and reunion group for people who are really focusing, adults who are focusing on reaching out to birth families, contact and or pursuing relationships or managing relationships. So that's a lot of the work that we do is around that sort of want for contact or reunion with a birth family. So managing birth family relationships. With some current clients that we have, we do some help with therapeutic visits in our office. That's most of the therapeutic services we offer. I think you wanted us to talk about insurance. It's very specific,
Yeah.
but it's on my list. So we don't at this time accept Mass Health. We do accept Blue Cross, Tufts. We're getting paneled with Optum because Blue Cross just changed unexpectedly to this Always Behavioral Health Network. So that will be a new insurance that we're accepting. We have an out-of-pocket scale. And the types of therapy that we offer, we don't try to like reinvent the wheel. A lot of us are trained in very sort of common therapies that you may be familiar with, sort of models around cognitive behavior therapy, so how thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are connected. We are all family sort of focused family systems, so looking at the family as a whole and everything in the family impacts everyone pretty much. There's not sort of an identified problem. We really look at the whole family system. And a lot of our therapists are expressive arts therapists. I am not, but most of us use some sort of art in our work, or so it could be anywhere from sensory, movement-based, traditional sort of play therapy with games. We have sand tray. Even with individuals of any age, we use a lot of like music, writing, or narrative sort of interventions. But we like to use sort of an adoption lens with any of our therapy. So that really means kind of looking at trauma and attachment, how that has impacted anyone in the family that we're working with. I read recently, trauma-informed care is really like looking at why the child acts the way they do based on what they experienced in their life. So that's sort of really what we try to focus on. And we have one of our part-time therapists also has a specialization in addiction and substance abuse. So really looking at that sort of interplay, and she really speaks really well about these sort of higher incidence of substance use and addictions with some adoptees, and she's doing some sort of specialized training around that right now. So our second part of our mission, we feel very strongly, we sort of pride ourselves on providing resources, and by doing that we offer free telephone consultation to anyone looking for any kind of service. So lots of times we don't end up being an individual or doing therapy per se, but really trying to like triage what the need is, hearing more from the individual family and providing appropriate referrals. So this is my friend right here, and we are referring to Adoption Journeys all the time. It's an amazing resource. It's a huge help to us to have that resource. A lot of our families are going to MSPCC groups, so we worked together on, that was the other thing we did in the networking meeting. We worked on a adoption competent provider referral list. So we have sort of the same working list of providers, which is amazing because we really need that. We'll be contacted by people way in Western Mass or in New Hampshire, and we do have some families travel really far to see us, but a lot of families can't. So we're really working on building that referral list. And then my colleagues wrote a book, so this is another resource for parents. And I had it out because I want everybody to look, and so we could talk about it a little bit. We're actually have them on sale today for $10. So this book was written by my colleagues and illustrated, and it really is a resource for parents and providers to be able to talk to kids about adoption. And a lot of what we do in our work is refer back to this article, which, believe it or not, is from like the 80s, but the 7 core themes in adoption, and a lot of them are talked about here, and have already been mentioned. So grief and loss, identity, issues around feeling, rejected, relationships, intimacy. This is all sort of presented at the 5th grade level to talk to children about, with sort of a corresponding workbook in the back for parents that can provide some sort of like concrete interventions and resources and book referrals. So we this sort of morphs into our resource and education mission. And if you're interested, please see me after. I have the little square thing. It's pretty easy. And we're looking at building a foundation for some mental health trainings right now. We're looking into that right now. We're doing a couple of specific trainings for mental health agencies. So I think you wanted me to share an anecdote too, and I really want to share this story about a family I'm working with. I've clearly changed a lot of the information. I'm not going to share any specific information. But family's pretty unique. They're 2 fathers, 2 men who are married, and they're in the middle of a pre-adopted placement with 2 children who both have special needs. And they came to see us, and they weren't really sure what they were looking for. And we talked a lot about what would be best for them at that time, and it really was parent support and couple support. And hardly ever do we differentiate between the 2 because they're so closely interwoven with their new role as parents and how they're taking care of themselves and their marriage and managing their 2 children's needs. So this has been a pretty complex case. It's involved a lot of like education around what they can expect from the child's transition into the home, helping them manage their older child, it was around 9, has been in and out of hospitals and residential placements, and really looking at that, again, with this trauma attachment lens. This child has been in and out of several placements in several homes and is really, scared. The adoption date is getting closer, and he's terrified, and it comes out for him sometimes with some angry behaviors. So helping them also look at their expectations and how they're sort of working as co-parents and communicating as co-parents, respite, referrals to Adoption Journeys, MSPCC groups, interacting with their GCF worker, with other individual therapists, with in-home therapists. So this is a lot of takes a village, try to all work together and coordinate, helping this intensive family support to support the adoption, which is still not happened. It's been delayed, so we can understand how difficult that may be for both the children. Some other things we've talked about is helping support the parents around presenting a life book or working on a life book, when to present the life book. So sort of these specific themes around adoption, even though we had determined that their older child wasn't ready to come to our office yet. He really needed more support. He's working with an in-home therapist right now, a psychiatrist. I'm sort of helping guide the parents and the other providers. We do offer some like consultation to other adoption professionals around sort of adoption themes and competency. And we're even talking right now about having their daughter, changing, come in and doing some attunement work. So on top of the work he's doing, just really helping the parents attune to his needs and building that positive attachment in sessions, most likely through play. And he has a ton of therapy, so the goal would be really just to help them like have a positive experience with each other and build that trust with each other.
I should just explain why I asked about insurance, because I'm an adoptive parent,
Yeah,
and that
it's
is
important.
an integral part of everything. So kids who are in the system, even after finalization, maintain mass health coverage. But some families choose, I've done this in the past, to also put my kids on my own insurance through work. So mass health acts as a secondary insurance. And the reason why I've done that is because unfortunately, some of the therapists or services we've wanted to work with that take mass health have really long waiting lists. And particularly if you're in crisis, you do not have time for that. And so it just opens up more possibilities for you to work with people who take other forms of insurance. So that's just one thing to think about. And we've even gone back and forth when one of our sons needed services from an agency that only took mass health. We've had to drop him off Harvard Pilgrim. And we've done that a couple of times. But even that's been pretty painless. So we've kind of played the system in ways that we needed to. In order for you to get what your child needs, you have to be really flexible about the insurance piece. And there were times we even paid out of pocket for things, but because the person was the right person for our son, it's worth it in the long run. So thank you.
Yeah, that was part of the work too, was advocating for their subsidy. Right.
Thank you. Elaine?
Hi, I'm Elaine Arsenault, and I work with the Federation for Children with Special Needs. Do you guys know the Federation? Some people do, yay. So the Federation for Children with Special Needs was started in 1976 as a nonprofit agency, and it was a group of parents that were sitting around the table like you guys saying, we want our children to be educated with typical children in the public school, like the school down the street, right? You know, back in the day, they put the kids in the residential placements. If they had Down syndrome, if they had medical issues, if there was anything different, they would separate them. So they went and did a lot of grassroots legislating. You know, they held the picket signs, they slept on the State House steps. You know, they did all this great stuff. I'm glad I don't have to do that right now. But, and they got the laws changed. So now we are an agency that has 13 different programs. Our contracts are through the Department of Education, DPH, DMH, DCF. We work with all the state agencies in different ways. And so one of the things that we have that is great is we have a call center. You have a child, might be having problems in school. You know, I love this. They call you, they say, come pick Johnny up, right? Okay, every day for a week, come pick Johnny up. Okay. So there's something going on. You want to look at that. We can help you talk you through how to get assessments. We have workshops. We have over 600 workshops a year on the IEP process. That's independent educational program for students that are struggling in school. And we have workshops on what the basic rights are. What are your rights? We have them in 8 different languages. We have them in Spanish, Portuguese, Mandarin Chinese, Vietnamese, Haitian Creole, English, and I know I'm missing one. What?
Creole, maybe?
We do Creole, yeah. We've been doing a lot of workshops in New Bedford, the South Shore area, and if you call, there's usually someone in the office that could get you the information you need in your language, or you can request a call back if some of the material you need in your language. We're actually just doing a 3-part series in Holyoke starting in March and it's going to be simultaneously in Spanish and English. And we're doing that in La Sede de Families down in Holyoke. But we're going to try and do these in several different places so that families that are really struggling, and especially the English language learners that are turned away by the schools sometimes and told, you know, we don't have it in your language. That's pretty much illegal. So anyway, so I am a mother of 5 children. I have 2 with special needs that I adopted through DCF. I specifically did foster care for children with special needs. My son, he has muscular dystrophy. He's physically involved. He has a motorized wheelchair, but he lives independently on his own. He lives in Randolph because he had to move 2 hours away from mom because he's a man. So he has PCAs that come in twice a day and help him with his health care needs. I also have a daughter who is his biological sister who has significant trauma. She was diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder. So we did all this, and I got my kids in '97. This was before the programs were really going. This is why they have these programs. So, you know, we were able to access a lot of these programs with my kids growing up. So you guys are lucky because people are trained these days, and it's great. And my daughter did go find her biological family, so I have a huge extended family in Methuen. It's an Armenian family, or no, they're Lebanese. Huge family, you know, lots of siblings, cousins. I have a granddaughter now, and so we're all connected through this child. That's just, it's amazing. And it hasn't been easy. You know, there were some hurt feelings for a long time, and we really had to work through a lot of it. And therapists, you know, really helped us to become, you know, an extended family. One of the programs that I work on that is really near and dear to my heart is the Recruitment, Training, and Support Center for Special Education Surrogate Parents. You guys know what that is? Yeah, some people do. So these are volunteers that work with children that are in residential placements. So they're either in a residential, DCF residential placement or a DYS placement. And so those children need to have a volunteer sign on their IEP. So these are kids that don't have a foster parent or a parent-like person in their life that can sign off. And so usually the kids are older, right? You know, we've got a lot of younger ones now because of the opiate crisis, but a lot of these kids are older teenagers, and they need someone to show up and help them with the IEP process. So we do like a 3-hour orientation. You know, you go do a Corey background check, and then you would show up a couple of times a year and sign off on the IEP. You would read the records and see. So it's a federal mandate, so this is in every state. But we're the ones that hold the contract for that. So if you look at our website, it's a great program. We also do a webinar a month, and the webinars can be things like trauma-sensitive IEPs, how to get a trauma-sensitive psychological evaluation, what's a behavior plan. We have them archived on our website, so you can look at them. 3 in the morning, you can't sleep, right? You're worrying, your brain's like, eh. So you read, you look at these, and it'll put you right to sleep. But also, I do them with a group of people. So if you have a group of people, co-workers, or you have a parent group or something, it's great to sit down and look at these webinars and go through them, and it's a good, talking point, because these are the things that I didn't have when I had my kids. And, you really need that support, the support groups, and all those kinds of things. We also have a program called Mass Family Voices, and it's a healthcare information. That's under our DPH contract. So if you have a child that might have specific healthcare needs, a feeding tube, or any kind of medical issues. I mean, it could even be like asthma. They have resources there, and they also have like a camp directory, so you can find. It's actually online, but each year they used to print them out. So if you go onto our website, and it's a summer camp directory. So like my son went to muscular dystrophy camp, MDA camp in Randolph. I mean, in Canton. and then Easter seals, but they also have camps with specific mental health or healthcare needs, and they will tell you where to get the money and the scholarships for these camps. I know there's some in Northampton, they have, the Y has like a camp and stuff like that. So it's really good to start looking at that in February, because the camps, really, they get full. This is the time that you have to go online and start looking at these camps and doing the applications. And it'll save your life. It's like the daycare thing. You just have to have it.
That's why the first summer, for first-time parents, it's like, oh crap. When
Oh.
you look into it in May, school's about to end,
Yeah.
and all the camps are full.
Yeah, you learn that after a while. And I remember, my son, I didn't want to let him go because, this poor little guy, he's just, all by himself in this wheelchair. I'm like, I don't want him to go. And then, I dropped him off, and he was like, that was like the best week of my life. And then I was crying because he was so happy without me. But, really they got all the attention they needed. They got that one-on-one care that, we can't give them all the time, especially if we have big families, right? I have 5 kids. So, nobody got the most attention going on. We also have a mass care project. So they're the ones that you can talk to about the health insurance stuff. So they know how to do that whole thing. I, too, had to only have Mass Health because my health insurance would not pay $29,000 for a wheelchair. So, they help you navigate that system where you can't assume that certain things are going to be paid for. Medical, anything like that. Through the DPH program, Mass Family Voices, they helped me get $10,000 toward a wheelchair van. So they know where all these monies are. So it's a wealth of information. We also have a parent professional leadership center. We do, it's like an 8-day program, like a week long, or some of it is like 8 different weeks. You know how you do the MAP groups? Where you learn everything about the IEP process. And after that, you actually can get a certificate to be an educational advocate. You will have everything you need. They have, lawyers come. They have, the Department of Education come. They have children that have been through the process, family members, and you learn everything about the IEP process. And then we do a lot. We have a whole program on transition. So, at 14, your student needs to start the transition process in school, right? I always get the call when the kid's 18. When do I do a transition program? Okay, well, you're done because, you have to prepare for the world outside. You have to prepare the young person for skills. And a lot of my kids that I get, it's not necessarily how do you fill out the application, it might be hygiene. How do you brush your teeth, and how would you dress? I mean, do not show up in your pajama bottoms, okay? Just don't do that, because I'll be like, no, you're going to go out and change. So we do a training on that. It's like a 2-day training, and it talks about all those different things. Is your student going to drive? Are they going to live in the city? Are they going to live alone? Are they going to be in a program, a DMH program where they might be living sort of alone but with staff, really planning for that process. My son, we started planning his housing when he was 16. There's a lot of forms that have to be filled out. There's a lot of information people needed. He needed to learn about his medical condition and what that meant for his life. So there's a lot of training with children if they have mental health issues and they're on medication. There has to be a lot of training on why are you taking this? What happens if you stop suddenly? Where do you get it? What's your doctor's name? And sometimes we're so busy we don't think of those things, and then all of a sudden, when my kids were 18, when I was 18, I was so smart, right? I knew everything. Oh my God. Drinking age was 18 in Texas. I was like, man, I got this, right? When my kids turned 18, I looked at them and I was like, oh my God, they're like babies. Oh my God, they're never going to survive. So, really planning for that and get a dentist appointment, and he needed to go to the dentist. And I'm like, oh yeah, we never really talked about that, did we? So at the Federation, everybody there has children with special needs, a family member with special needs, or themselves have special needs. And so we can pretty much answer about any question. 3 of my team members have children adopted through DCF. We have members that have children that have autism. We have people with autism working with us. So, if you have a question and you're struggling with the school, we also do trainings with the schools. So we just did a training 2 weeks ago at Ashburnham, trauma-informed IEP process, and helping them with, learning how to work with these kids with the social-emotional issues. What does that look like in the classroom? So that, we're trying to get both sides of it so that everybody has the same information. So I have a whole bunch of information back there. Pick it up, take it with you, pass it on.
Yeah. As far as the special education process, it's more likely than not, if you adopt a child from the foster care system, that they will need services, and it might not even be through their whole education. It might be that they have gaps in their education and they're kind of just catching up, but it might be a learning disability, or it might be an emotional disability or behavioral issues. Those things can all be a reason to have an IEP or 504, which are accommodations in the classroom. And unfortunately, it's so dependent on the school district that you live in and work with, because some are really cooperative and great, and some have great funding, to be honest, and others
that's
don't.
why you have to kind of know the law, because you can be in an IEP just for a behavioral, or just for a social-emotional issue. And I've had school districts say no, but here's the law. I take it off of DESE's website. This is the law. And then there is a process. There is a process of calling the program resolution, of calling DESE to make them give you the services. And, the social-emotional stuff they give doesn't cost them any more money.
Right.
It's just, how do we get it for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times they don't know, so we have to educate them.
Right, and if you need help with that, that's the big piece too, because some people don't take parents seriously,
Yes, right,
where they
yeah.
think that you have a biased view of your child, you don't see the whole picture, you don't really know what it looks like in the classroom.
Yeah.
Can you tell I've lived this? But
Yeah,
I've been
I
a
know,
teacher,
I
so I'm
know.
like, I know both
Yeah.
sides. But at any rate, it always helps to have like a third person, another party at the table that's on your side advocating
Yeah.
for you, and then they have the facts to back it up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really helpful. I'll just remind everybody, from left to right, we have Eileen,
Elaine.
I don't know why I did that. Elaine, I'm sorry. Casey, Michelle, and Audrey. Right? Okay, great. Just want to say thank you so much all for coming, and for those of you